Sometimes we make the mistake of thinking purpose has to be something grand, something that shakes the earth. But purpose isn't always about big moments. It's about faithfulness. It's about showing up, doing what you've been called to do, even when no one is watching. It's about knowing that every interaction, every opportunity, every obstacle is shaping you into who you were meant to be. But here's where many people get stuck. They convince themselves that they don't have a purpose because they don't see immediate results. They think that because life hasn't unfolded the way they imagined, maybe they don't really matter. Maybe they're just another face in the crowd, just another person trying to get by. But let me tell you, nothing could be further from the truth. Purpose is not based on circumstances. It's not dictated by how smooth or how difficult the journey is. Some of the most impactful people in history didn't discover their true calling in moments of ease. They found it in the midst of struggle. Purpose is refined in the fire. It is revealed in the waiting. It is strengthened in the moments when you feel like giving up, but choose to keep going. That's why you have to remind yourself daily, I am here for a purpose. Because the world will try to tell you otherwise. Life will throw distractions, discouragement, and doubt in your path. There will be days when you feel unseen, unheard, and unimportant. But feelings are not facts. Just because you don't feel like you have a purpose doesn't mean you don't have one. And just because you haven't figured it all out yet doesn't mean God isn't working behind the scenes. The danger is when people start believing the lie that their life doesn't matter. Because when you don't believe you have purpose, you start living like it. You settle, you stop striving, you let life happen to you instead of walking with intention. But when you live with purpose, when you wake up every morning and declare, I am here for a reason, it changes everything. It changes the way you carry yourself, it changes the way you handle challenges, it changes the way you interact with others. Purpose gives you direction. It reminds you that your life is not just about existing, but about making an impact. An impact doesn't mean you have to change the entire world. It means you have to be faithful with what's in front of you. Some of the most powerful moments in life happen in the unseen. A simple act of kindness, a word of encouragement, a decision to keep believing. Those things matter more than you realize. So don't let the idea of purpose overwhelm you. Stop searching for something that has already been placed inside of you. Your purpose is not something you have to chase. It's something you have to walk in, one step at a time. And the best way to walk in it is to simply be present, to give your best to what's in front of you, and to trust that every moment is part of something greater. If you ever find yourself questioning why you're here, remember this. The fact that you're still breathing means your purpose is still unfolding. You are not finished. You are not forgotten. You are not insignificant. Every day you wake up is another opportunity to step into what you were created for. So don't waste it. Don't overlook it. Walk with confidence. Move with intention. And remind yourself, no matter what comes your way, I am here for a purpose. Let me know if you'd like any refinements. There's something powerful about realizing that your past does not define you. It's easy to get trapped in the weight of yesterday. Mistakes made, opportunities missed, words spoken that can't be taken back. Regret has a way of whispering in the quiet moments, convincing you that because of what happened before, you'll never become who you're meant to be. But that is a lie. You are not bound to what you've been through. Your past is a chapter in your story, not the whole book. Too often, people carry their past like a heavy burden, allowing it to shape how they see themselves. They live as if they are still that person who made the wrong choice, still that person who failed, still that person who was broken. But here's the truth. Growth means change. And if you are changing, if you are learning, if you are seeking to be better, then who you were is not who you are anymore. You don't have to live in the shadow of your past. You don't have to keep punishing yourself for things that God has already forgiven. Some of the strongest people in the world are the ones who have walked through the hardest struggles, the ones who have stumbled, fallen, and had to get back up again, the ones who didn't let their past mistakes become their permanent identity. Because that's what happens when you refuse to let your past define you. you step into a new identity. You realize that what you've been through wasn't meant to destroy you, it was meant to teach you, to build you, to prepare you for what's ahead. But you have to make a decision. You have to choose to stop looking back with regret and start looking forward with faith. You have to stop seeing yourself as the person who failed and start seeing yourself as the person who overcame. It doesn't mean you ignore what happened. It doesn't mean you pretend the past doesn't exist. It means you stop letting it control you. Some people spend their whole lives replaying the past, rehearsing their mistakes, convincing themselves that they are forever tied to what they did wrong. But that's not living. That's existing in a prison of your own making. And you were not created to live in chains. Think about this. If you were driving a car, would you stare at the rearview mirror the entire time? Of course not, because if you did, you'd crash. You'd never get to where you were meant to go. The same is true in life. The past is meant to be glanced at, learned from, but not lived in. You can acknowledge where you've been without letting it dictate where you're going. Some of the greatest people in history had pasts that could have disqualified them if they had let them. But they didn't. They chose to move forward. They chose to believe that their mistakes were not the end of their story. And because of that, they stepped into purpose. You have that same choice. Every day you can wake up and remind yourself, my past does not define me. My mistakes do not determine my future. My story is still being written. Because the moment you start believing that, everything changes. You stop seeing yourself through the lens of shame and start seeing yourself through the lens of grace. You stop living in regret and start walking in purpose. And if there are people in your life who try to remind you of your past, who try to hold you to who you used to be, understand this: they are speaking from a place of their own limitation. Just because they can't see your growth doesn't mean it's not real. Just because they remember your past doesn't mean you have to live in it. Let them talk. Let them doubt. Let them misunderstand. Because at the end of the day, what matters is not what they say, it's what you believe. There is too much ahead of you to keep looking behind. There are doors waiting to be opened, opportunities waiting to be stepped into, victories waiting to be won. But you'll never reach them if you keep turning back. So make the decision today. Leave the past where it belongs. Step into the person you are becoming. And never forget, your past is not your prison, it's your testimony. Let it be a reminder of how far you've come, not a weight that holds you down. Because the only thing that truly defines you is who you choose to be today. Let me know if you need any refinements. There will be days when you feel like you don't have enough, not enough strength, not enough courage, not enough energy to keep going. Life has a way of testing you, of making you question whether you can handle what's in front of you. But the truth is, you are stronger than you think. You have walked through things you never thought you'd survive. You have endured pain that should have broken you. You have faced storms that should have swept you away. And yet, here you are, still standing, still breathing, still moving forward. Strength isn't always loud. It isn't always obvious. Sometimes strength is simply the decision to get up in the morning when everything in you wants to stay down. Sometimes it's choosing to believe in better days when all you've seen are difficult ones. Strength is not about having an easy path. It's about refusing to give up, no matter how hard the journey gets. It's easy to look at others and think they have it all together. It's easy to believe that the people who seem confident, who seem unshaken, have some kind of inner power that you don't. But that's not true. Everyone has moments of doubt. Everyone has days when they don't feel strong enough. The difference is that strong people don't let those feelings dictate their actions. They push through even when it's hard. They keep going even when they're tired. They understand that real strength isn't about never struggling. It's about never quitting. There are moments in life when you won't feel prepared for what's in front of you. Moments when the weight of responsibility, of expectation, of uncertainty will feel too heavy to carry. But strength doesn't come from always knowing the way forward. It comes from trusting that you will figure it out as you go. It comes from the simple decision to take one more step, even when you don't know where the road leads. Think back to the things you thought would break you, the times when you felt like you had nothing left to give, the moments when you wanted to walk away, but somehow you didn't. That's proof that there is more inside of you than you realize. Proof that you have a strength that isn't always obvious, but is always present. Sometimes, the hardest part of being strong is believing it. The mind will try to convince you that you're weak, that you're not capable, that you don't have what it takes. But feelings are not facts. Just because you feel weak does not mean you are weak. Just because you feel afraid does not mean you can't be brave. Strength is not about the absence of struggle. It's about the decision to keep moving in spite of it. There will be people who try to make you doubt yourself. There will be voices, sometimes external, sometimes in your own mind, that try to convince you that you're not strong enough. But you have a choice. You can listen to those voices, or you can silence them with action. You can let them define you, or you can prove them wrong. You are stronger than the pain you've endured. You are stronger than the heartbreak you've faced. You are stronger than the fear that tries to hold you back. Every challenge, every setback, every obstacle is not a sign of your weakness. It's an opportunity to discover your strength. It's a chance to prove to yourself that you are not defined by what happens to you, but by how you rise after it. Strength doesn't mean you never struggle. It means you don't let the struggle stop you. It means you trust that no matter how difficult the moment is, you have the ability to push through. And if you ever start to doubt that, just look at everything you've already overcome. Look at the battles you've fought. Look at the moments when you thought you wouldn't make it, and then realize that you did. So when the road gets hard, when the weight feels heavy, when the doubts start creeping in, remind yourself of this. You are stronger than you think. You always have been. You always will be. And no matter what comes next, you have everything it takes to get through it. There is something truly freeing about accepting that not everyone is going to like you. No matter what you do, no matter how much you try, there will always be people who misunderstand you, who judge you, who simply don't see you the way you wish they would. And that's okay. Because your worth is not tied to someone else's approval. You were not created to fit into everyone's expectations, to mold yourself into a version that pleases the crowd. You were created to be yourself, fully and unapologetically. Too many people live their lives in a constant battle to be liked. They shape their words, their actions, even their dreams around what they think will make them more acceptable to others. They shrink themselves, suppress their own voice, and walk on eggshells just to keep the peace. But the truth is, no matter how much you try to be everything for everyone, someone will still find a reason to criticize you. Someone will still take issue with something you say, something you do, something you stand for. And if your happiness is built on the shaky foundation of other people's opinions, you will always be at their mercy. Think about how much of life is wasted on worrying about people who are never meant to have a say in your journey. How many times have you held back from speaking your truth because you were afraid of what someone might think? How many times have you let fear of judgment stop you from pursuing something you truly wanted? Imagine what would happen if, for just a moment, you let go of that weight. If you stopped trying to convince the world to approve of you and instead just were. The reality is, the people who are meant for you, the ones who truly matter, will accept you as you are. They won't need you to change to fit their expectations. They won't require you to pretend to be something you're not. And the ones who do, they were never meant to be part of your story anyway. It's a hard truth to swallow, but not everyone is going to like you. Not everyone is going to cheer for you. Some people will dislike you simply because they don't understand you. Others will resist your growth because it reminds them of their own stagnation. And then there are those who will criticize you no matter what you do, simply because that's what they do. But here's the good news. You don't need everyone to like you. You don't need universal approval to be valuable, to be worthy, to be enough. The danger comes when you spend so much time trying to be liked that you lose yourself in the process. When you start making decisions based on what will make you more accepted rather than what aligns with your values. When you hold back from stepping into your full potential because you're afraid of how others will react. But living like that is exhausting. It's a never-ending game you can't win, and the price of playing it is too high, because the cost is you. Freedom comes when you stop looking for permission to be yourself. When you stop seeking validation from people who were never meant to validate you in the first place. When you realize that the only approval that truly matters is your own. Because at the end of the day, you have to live with yourself. You have to look in the mirror and be proud of the person looking back. And if that person is constantly bending, constantly hiding, constantly sacrificing who they are just to be accepted, then what's the point? There is nothing more powerful than someone who is comfortable in their own skin. Someone who is not swayed by every opinion, who does not need constant validation, who stands firm in who they are. That kind of confidence is unshakable. That kind of confidence is rare, but it's the kind of confidence that changes everything. So let them talk, let them misunderstand, let them form their opinions, because none of it changes who you are, none of it changes your worth, and the sooner you stop chasing approval, the sooner you will step into the freedom of just being yourself. And that is a life worth living. There is a moment in life when you realize that time is not waiting for you. The dreams you have, the things you want to do, the person you want to become, none of it will happen if you keep telling yourself one day. Because one day is a lie we tell ourselves when we're afraid to start. It's an illusion, a place where we store all the things we wish for but never act on. And if you're not careful, you will look back and realize that one day never came because you never made it this day. So many people are waiting for the right time, the right circumstances, the right opportunity to fall into their lap. But the truth is, there is no perfect time. There is no moment where everything will align just right. Life doesn't work like that. If you are always waiting, you will always be waiting. Because fear has a way of convincing you that you're not ready yet, that you need more time, that you need more security, that you need more reassurance before you begin. But the only thing you need is the courage to start. It doesn't matter how small the first step is. It doesn't matter if you don't have all the answers. What matters is that you move, that you stop telling yourself you'll do it later, that you stop making excuses about why you can't. Because the people who succeed, the people who build lives they are proud of, are not the ones who waited for the perfect moment. They are the ones who decided that today was good enough. Regret is one of the heaviest burdens to carry, and it always comes too late. You don't feel it when you're putting things off, when you're making excuses, when you're convincing yourself that you have more time. You feel it when you realize that time has passed and you can't get it back. You feel it when the opportunity is gone, when the dream has faded, when the person you wanted to be seems too far away to reach. And by then, the only thing left is the question, what if? If there is something in your heart, something you know you are meant to do, something you have been putting off, ask yourself this: what am I waiting for? Because there will never be a better time than now. Life is not something that waits for you to be ready. It moves. And if you don't move with it, it will pass you by. Too many people live their lives as if they have forever, as if there will always be another chance, another opportunity, another tomorrow. But tomorrow is not promised. The only time you truly have is this moment. And what you do with it is what determines the life you will have. Maybe you've been telling yourself you'll start when you feel more confident, when you have more experience, when you have everything figured out. But confidence is not something you wait for. It is something you build by taking action. You don't need to know everything. You don't need to have it all together. You just need to take the first step. Start the project. Make the call. Write the book. Take the trip. Say the words you've been afraid to say. Whatever it is, stop waiting. Because waiting turns into months. Months turn into years. And years turn into a lifetime of wondering what could have been. And if fear is what's holding you back, understand this: fear never really goes away. It will always try to keep you where you are, to convince you that staying still is safer than moving forward. But safety is not the same as living. You can stay where it's comfortable, where it's predictable, where it's easy, but you will never grow there. You will never become who you were meant to be by staying in the same place. The best things in life come to those who refuse to let fear decide their future, to those who stop waiting for the perfect moment and make the moment perfect by showing up, by trying, by doing. Because at the end of the day, time is going to pass whether you take action or not. The question is, will you look back and be proud of what you did with it, or will you be left wishing you had started sooner? Stop waiting, start now, because life isn't waiting for you. There will be days when you doubt yourself, days when you question whether you're on the right path, whether you have what it takes, whether you're making the right choices. And in those moments, it's easy to let fear take over, to let uncertainty hold you back. But you have to remind yourself that just because something feels difficult doesn't mean you're not capable. Just because you don't have all the answers doesn't mean you're lost. The mind is powerful, and what you tell yourself matters. If you constantly feed yourself thoughts of doubt and insecurity, you will start to believe them. If you keep telling yourself that you're not enough, that you'll never succeed, that you're not as talented, as strong, as worthy as others, you will create a reality where those things feel true. But the same way negativity can shape your world, so can belief. If you remind yourself every day that you are capable, that you are resilient, that you are worthy of success, you will start to live in a way that reflects that truth. You don't have to be perfect to be worthy. You don't have to have it all figured out to be deserving of success and happiness. You are enough as you are, even as you grow, even as you learn. And the more you remind yourself of that, the more you will start to walk with confidence, not because you have everything, but because you understand that you are enough with what you have. Too often, people wait for someone else to believe in them before they believe in themselves. They wait for validation, for permission, for some kind of confirmation from the world that they are good enough. But the truth is, no one can give you that. No one can make you believe in yourself if you refuse to do it first. And if you don't believe in yourself, how can you expect anyone else to? There is a voice inside of you that is either building you up or tearing you down. And you have a choice about which one you listen to. You have a choice about what you tell yourself every day. Will you fill your mind with thoughts that empower you, or with thoughts that limit you? Will you focus on your strengths or dwell on your weaknesses? Will you remind yourself of your potential or convince yourself of your failures? Because what you say to yourself in private is what will shape how you show up in public. Confidence is not something that is given to you. It is something you build, brick by brick, through the way you speak to yourself. It is the result of 1,000 small reminders that you are capable, that you are strong, that you are worthy. It is the result of refusing to let doubt have the final say. Think about the times in your life when you surprised yourself, when you did something you never thought you could do. Maybe it was a challenge you overcame, a fear you pushed through, a moment when you proved to yourself that you were stronger than you realized. Those moments are proof of what you are capable of, proof that you can rise to any occasion if you trust yourself enough to try. Not everything will go as planned. There will be setbacks, failures, disappointments, but failure does not define you. Mistakes do not define you. What defines you is how you rise after them, how you learn from them, how you keep going in spite of them. And that starts with what you tell yourself. If you tell yourself that failure is the end, it will be. But if you tell yourself that failure is just a lesson, just a stepping stone, then you will keep moving forward. You are more powerful than you realize. Your words, your thoughts, your beliefs shape the way you experience life. So speak to yourself with the same kindness, the same encouragement, the same belief that you would give to someone you love. Remind yourself every day that you are strong enough, that you are good enough, that you are capable enough. And when doubt tries to creep in, when fear whispers that you're not ready, silence it with the truth. You are more ready than you think. You always have been.